It's Trevor Sikkema on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Trevor, how's it going?
Going great. Appreciate you guys having me back.
We're happy to have you here. Full disclosure, before I ask you my first question, so that you're not worried about hurting feelings, I did not have really high expectations for Seattle's offense to begin the year. I thought, God, I have so many questions about this group, and I have no idea what to expect. Hopefully the defense can hit the ground running, and then we'll see. So I'm pleasantly surprised at how good the offense for Seattle has looked through 4 weeks this season. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I actually did think that the offense was going to be pretty good. Now, maybe not this good right out of the gate, but I have a lot of faith in Clint Kubiak, their offensive coordinator. I really liked what I saw last year. Okay, it was a struggling year in New Orleans overall, but I thought the things that he was doing were actually pretty great. And I thought that the roster, the way that it was currently constructed in Seattle, was pretty in line with how he wanted to run things. A play action offense, outside zone running scheme. They had a lot of that structure already in place. And so, it's even starting better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it maybe would take a little bit of time for Sam Darnold to get things going, but very clearly he's comfortable in that system. And he's comfortable because I do think that it's familiar, right? What he ran with Kevin O'Connell, that is pretty much the same tree as what Kubiak is trying to do. So I'm sure that a lot of the terminology, the philosophies, where he's looking for the ball, when, a lot of that is very similar for him to be playing well right now. And so you love to see the stars, obviously, guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba being able to showcase what they're able to do and be the focal point of the offense. Some of the rookies, obviously Gray Zabel, Torrey Horton, guys like that on the offensive side of the ball that have really helped and given them a little bit of a boost. But it's great to see. As somebody who picked Seattle to win the division, I have to say that it is great to see.
And it's great to see JSN be second in the NFL when it comes to receiving yards. Were there any doubts for you when it came to JSN being a number one guy? And where do you think he ranks when it comes to the elite, right? The Justin Jeffersons and the rest of the game?
Yeah, look, he is so talented, and he was so talented going back to his days at Ohio State. It really was just a matter of, he's not the biggest wide receiver in the world, right? You're probably not going to put him on a lot of sideline X wide receiver duties and things like that. And not every offense is conducive to be able to run a lot of what they want to do around a guy who primarily wins when you give him a lot of space in the slot. But clearly they are willing to do that. And I think that's when you have the best coaches that are able to sort of tailor what they want to do to their players' strengths. And I think that's what we're seeing here in Seattle. When it comes to him being, in that tier one of wide receivers, he's certainly making a case to get to that point. I think a lot of people, myself included, would probably still put guys like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. What we're seeing from Puka Nacua as well. A.J. Brown, certainly when Philly throws him the ball, that is. I think that would probably be the top tier of wide receivers. But you talk about that guys that are right behind. Jackson Smith and Jigba is at the very least in that next conversation, in that next group of players. And if he continues to produce, then obviously he's going to start running out. People are going to start running out of reasons to maybe keep him out of that top tier wide receivers.
Going back to Sam Darnold a little bit as we just collectively stick with the point about offense, there's going to be a very easy and fun conversation on Sunday, considering that both these quarterbacks have kind of been reclamation products in one way or another for their respective teams about if teams give up too early, if people fail quarterbacks, before quarterbacks fail them, a great quote from Kevin O'Connell last year. As we've started to talk about quarterbacks having a resurgence more and more, whether it was Geno in 2022 with Seattle, Sam Darnold last year with Minnesota, Baker obviously with Tampa Bay. Have you started to change the way you think about how long it might take quarterbacks to develop?
For sure. And I think that we're way too microwave as fans anyways, right? A lot of times the ingredients in the recipe of what you're trying to make it's for an oven, and we're instead trying to stick it into a microwave and say, nope, give me this immediately. And that's really not how the league has ever worked. And unfortunately, I say this as a draft guy. I love it because people care about the NFL draft more, and it's so much fun to follow. And I love the team building potential and what can happen in the draft. So you guys know me, I love the NFL draft, but I think that we look at these success stories, specifically at the quarterback position, these guys that are able to play really well, say in their rookie, like Jaden Daniels, for example, like C.J. Stroud, again, for an example of his rookie year, and we go, see, every pick should be just like that, and if we don't have a player who's like that, then that means they're a bum and we made the wrong choice. I hate the fact that we are taking these incredible seasons from these young rookie quarterbacks, sometimes guys who are in their first year, and we're making that the standard instead of celebrating it as sort of this outlier for what it really is. And I think that the quarterback position obviously is under that microscope, but I think a ton of other positions are as well. I think organizations are more impatient now than ever to get these players out there and to have them play right away, because the fans love the next new. They love the young guys being able to get in the starting lineup and contribute and everything like that. But just the fact of the matter is that that's not the case for all of these players. And I think people forget when these kids get drafted, they are 22, 23, sometimes 20 and 21-year-old guys. And to have them out there for 2 years when they are quite literally still growing into even who they are in their strengths and their talents and who they are as human beings, and consider them no longer able to contribute to a team, I think that's just when we have things that are the wrong way. And so I think a lot of that mentality goes into it. But I will say that it feels as though we are finally getting some good amount of offensive and defensive, I'll say, coordinators around the league who are willing to adapt, who are truly, I think coaches say it all the time, right? Well, we got to, we call the plays and we develop a scheme like for the players. I don't know how much of that really existed 10, 15 years ago. I think the NFL was very sort of stubborn in their ways of, no, this is how it's done at the pro level. And if you can't run it like this, then you're no good. You're not going to make it in this league. Instead of trying to simplify things, or maybe even not even simplifying it, just doing it a little bit different if these guys learn and produce from a different standpoint, a different teaching point. So I think that's it. It's a great conversation. It's a great question. It's one that has a lot of depth to it, obviously, but those are the things that come to my mind when it comes to some of these reclamation or renaissance type of projects at the quarterback position and how we're getting there.
Yeah, Trevor, and I think these GMs and owners put these coaches on such short leashes. That's why they're so quick to make a change, right? They're like, well, my job's on the line. I got to give the people something. What position do you feel like is the easiest to hit during the draft?
Well, easy is a dangerous word.
More likely to hit, I should say.
Yeah, I do think that it feels as though like running back and wide receiver are two of the ones that I look at sort of when I go through scouting. And I feel like at least me as sort of an analyst, I have a good feel for what translates to the league, and sort of, if you didn't see this in college, it's hard to think that you'll see it at the NFL level. Like for running backs, for example, we've got two metrics that we love to lean on that I think are more stable than others, and that's missed tackles, force per attempt, and yards after contact. If you did both of those things at a very high level in college, there's a good chance you're going to be able to do it if you're in a good situation, you continue to improve and play how you are at the NFL level. But if you did not do that in college, then there's almost no chance that we're going to be able to see it in the NFL. So again, it's not that it's a foolproof thing, but there are some styles that are a little bit more stable than others. And so I would say like wide receiver, running back, those you can kind of watch guys and say, okay, like they got it. Like they got the juice. They've got it. They have the ability to separate or make guys miss. They have that playmaker mentality. It's a little bit easier to see. And to be honest, it's a little bit easier to individualize as saying, yes, this guy has the ability if we put the right stuff around him.
We were talking about some like interesting starts to the season. I'm heading outside of Seattle for this one a couple days ago, and I think that I asked something like, hey, would you rather buy stock in the Colts making the playoffs or the Ravens missing it, as both just being really surprising starts coming out of the AFC? How concerned should the Ravens actually be? I know it's certainly looking like Lamar may not play this weekend against Houston. And conversely, is there a team like Indy, for instance, that may be making a case for the playoffs here?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'd be extremely worried if I was a Ravens fan. And to be honest with you, I'd be worried if Lamar Jackson was 100% fully healthy. That defense is bad right now. I mean, and in some cases, they're the worst. I mean, for EPA per rush allowed and team run defense grade, they are dead last in the NFL. Now, Andy Madubuike, losing him and him being on IR was way bigger of a factor, I think, than people even realized. And I think the rest of that defense, you're just looking for contributing players, like even outside of the injuries. When those guys were healthy and they were out there on a defense without Andy Madubuike, they were struggling. So I would have been worried about the Ravens, even if Lamar Jackson was fully healthy. The Colts, man, it's all. I mean, you talk about Man, you talk about like a coach going back to kind of what you guys' point was, where these coaches feel like they have to make these changes if things aren't going 100% in the right direction. And you looked at what the quarterback situation was when they were going, okay, in and out with Anthony Richardson. Did they start him before he was ready? Was there pressure from the ownership? Was there pressure from the fans? And really, it just felt like, Shane Steichen, who I think is a good coach, I think he's a legitimate football coach in this league, was sort of just handcuffed a little bit by that situation. They go out and they got to get a guy like Daniel Jones, and they just tell him, hey, throw the ball where we need you to throw the ball. We don't need you to be magic. We can come up with the rest of it, and we can work on this together. And you're seeing how efficient that offense is now, just having a guy that can execute the way that he is. And, you asked that question, I guess just off the top of my head, right in that division, the Jags. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are a legitimate team, and I think that when we talk about the Jags, a lot of people talk about, Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence. They focus on the passing game part of it, but to do that is not to do justice to everything that Liam Cohen did as the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. He actually improved that run game immensely, and you're seeing that immediately in Jacksonville, how much more efficient and explosive that run game is. And then Anthony Campanelli, their defensive coordinator, on the other side of things, I mean, the Jags defense is pretty ferocious right now, and they've got a very fun Monday Night Football matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think some people might look at that matchup and just go, okay, well, you saw what Kansas City did last week to the Ravens. The Chiefs are back. This is an easy win for the Chiefs. It might be a win for the Chiefs, but I would be very surprised if it was anything close to the word easy because of how well that team's playing.
You got the Philadelphia Eagles 4-0, but they're sneaking by some guys, and they're being judged. Jalen Hurts isn't doing enough. The run game isn't going, but you never apologize for a 4-0 start. What do you make of the situation in Philly? Any concerns there?
Yeah, I mean, concern, it kind of just depends what degree of the word concern you'd be using. Are they the team that they were last year? No, I don't think that they are. And I think that they're showing that this year, that their margin for error is less than it was last season. And that doesn't mean they can't, win the division and make a deep playoff run and maybe even get back to the Super Bowl and perhaps repeat. But it's going to be harder this year than it was last year. I think the teams are really starting to figure out what they're what kind of makes them struggle. And for example, like Todd Bowles was able to do this last week. He started the game and he was pressuring Jalen Hurts all over the place, and they had answers for it. They had the quick passes. They were able to mitigate some of those pressures. And then in the second half, well, they didn't blitz him at all. They basically said, all right, well, we're going to rush 4, and we're going to drop everybody else back. And Jalen Hurts didn't complete a single pass. He was 0 for 8 in that second half, had a 33.8 passing grade when he just was forced to sit back and sort of scan the field, and he just didn't like attempting those tight window throws wherever they were. So that's sort of where the Eagles are. You're right. You're never going to apologize for 4-0, but this is a team that the margin for error is just much less than it was for them last season.
Lead NFL draft analyst for Pro Football Focus. He is Trevor Sikkema. Trevor, thanks so much, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
Have a good one.